Response to a specific question, and I will go into California rules in a minute and their weirdnesses and why it's still sane. Yes, in California, there are sane rules concerning something. I know that's shocking. Person says, I had an attempted home invasion last year, and I'm an older guy living in Los Angeles, California. 22 years ago, I had a felony, and it was dropped to a misdemeanor and expunged. Can I own a paintball gun in my home for self-defense? Can I carry it on my own person as well? This is a question you should ask a lawyer in your area because each city and county and state is going to have different rules. In the state of California, under California law, paintball guns fall under the banner of BB devices and are not restricted as long as they don't look like a gun. If they look like a gun, this goes along with BB guns, pellet guns, toy guns, or anything else that looks like a gun, even if it's a static object with no ability to do any projectiles. It can be classified as an imitation firearm by looks alone. If it also causes the propulsion of any object, it's listed under imitation firearm and BB device both. It's against the law to display an imitation firearm that looks realistic, including paintball guns, in public unless it's not imitating a real gun. If it's painted in bright colors to prove that it's not really a gun, or it's completely see-through or plastic, or something else that makes it to where it does not get confused with a real gun, it's distinguishing itself from being a real firearm, and it's now just, because it throws a projectile, it's under BB devices, which they say is limited to real BB guns, but then they had to include all sorts of other things like pellet guns and actually paintball guns. They decided, okay, it throws a projectile. What restrictions do you have? Depending on which city and county, they will use these words as a definition, and they'll restrict them. Brandishing it, if it was looked like a weapon or is said to be confusable with a weapon, meaning it's judgment of the court. If they judge it, even though it doesn't look like a gun, if they decide you were brandishing it for the purpose of intimidation, they'll declare it at that moment to be an imitation firearm, and it's a $100 fine the first time you do it. Second time, it's $300. Third time, it's a misdemeanor conviction with whatever they want to throw on top. But right now, it's only limited to $100 or $300 fine, and they can misinterpret this if they wish to, and, you know, Bob's your uncle, you're screwed. Next, pepper ball launchers, which shoot a paintball-like item filled with, well, pepper mace, is classified as a tear gas weapon and may or may not be legal in your area. Are any of these restricted in any way within your home? Technically, if you can buy something in the state at all, they legally state that you can use it at some designated location or have it in the home. And in the home, if you're attacked, you can use anything to self-defense. You can use an electrical cord and jam it in someone's eye sockets if they're trying to strangle you. They don't care. All bets are off. You can't be punished as a criminal for defending your life with whatever's handy, paintball gun included. If you walk out of the building with it, and as long as you don't brandish it, meaning concealed carry is actually encouraged in this case, but don't quote me, get a lawyer. You're not breaking a law. That's the best I can say. They can still decide, oh, you brandished it because we saw it. We choose to prosecute you even though there's no point. Now, as for the felony conviction that was expunged and knocked down, you have to get proof on your person that it was originally a felony accusation, not a conviction. I don't know if it was a conviction. Don't say a conviction. Find out what it said. It was a felony accusation busted down to a misdemeanor conviction, and then it was expunged. That could happen for all sorts of reasons. Find out the entire caseload for it, for everything on it, and find out if it's still listed, even though it's expunged, as being a felony conviction. If it happened in another state, their system might have it stuck. Next, unless you have a felony that you were jailed for, most systems will not qualify that as a felony. If, however, the paperwork says, have you ever been convicted of a felony, but it was a felony, and you were convicted, but then they threw it out later on appeal, for that period of time you were convicted of a felony, they might say that you have to say yes. So you're going to have to look up the rules. So, next thing, should you use this as a self-defense weapon in the home from a home invasion that may or may not have happened before? If you've never had a home invasion, and you're an older guy living in LA, I wouldn't worry it ever again. Now here's the practical answer. I'm a computer security geek by training, among 100 other damn things I've done. I'm a jackass of all trades. Make your home impossible to break into or invade, and change your behavior towards impossible to do it. Change your behavior. Let this change you a little bit. And that's it. As for carrying it around the neighborhood, unless you've been assaulted in the neighborhood, I lived in Portland, Oregon, in northwest Portland, right next to Burnside, and 23rd and 21st Avenue. And I only got assaulted in from 2016 on, pretty much. Yeah, or just before that. The neighborhood went to shit, and we had more people who were willing to be violent. I've never been in a situation where having any form of firearm would have helped the situation. Period. All of them were the same thing. Physically attacked by somebody. If it was a gun, I ran and went around a corner. If it was a knife, I just ran faster than they did. If I got attacked by somebody grabbing me and grappling with me, I ended up holding them down in some cases until the police showed up so that they could find out they had a rap sheet and put them back in prison. Don't attack me if you're on parole, if you want to stay out of prison, you stupid fucks. And that's the last part of this. Don't be me. Don't be Wabtec and do something stupid like that. Yes, it was fun putting someone in literal prison, but it's not worth risking my ass over. I'm an idiot. And therein lies the next thing. If you take out a paintball gun and shoot somebody when you've never had a good reason to in your neighborhood, you may be considered the attacker legally. But more importantly, the people around you may treat you that way. You shot someone with a paintball gun. They might decide to beat the shit out of you when they wouldn't have done before. You may have escalated things. I am very prudent these days. Okay, that's a lie. But I try to be. And it is the best possible pathway to avoid any violence. And carrying around anything that looks like a paintball gun, or anything that someone will consider a defiant behavior on your part, just flipping a person off can get your ass kicked. Remember that. So if you've never had this happen before, I don't recommend doing any changes at all, except home invasion. Make it to where you can't have it broken into. And if you're in a place you can't alter to make it more secure, I suggest you move. Not because of fear, but because you don't have a right to control your space. I lived in a place they wouldn't let me fix the door up. When they said no, I didn't move. I ripped the door and the door frame apart and reinforced it with steel plates that they have to deal with today because they didn't know I did it, and made it impossible for the door to get kicked in because I used to help rebuild and design bank vault doors. Don't ask, that's a long time ago. The point is, no, they weren't going to get into the door again. Someone didn't break my door down to get in to invade it. They went after me to try to hurt me. So I reinforced the door. My response was to hide the fact that I made the door impossible to break down even for the cops. Thank goodness. But I didn't say that. You didn't hear that. Yet it was also a fire door, by the way, at that point. So, to review, California law doesn't forbid you from doing this. Common sense might. Unless you've had this happen repeatedly, only one incident isn't a sequence. If there have been a lot of home invasions in the area that are real instead of just rumors, okay, maybe you just reinforce the building. As for carrying around anything that even looks like or acts like a gun, I don't recommend it at all. But that's my personal experience. And next, don't be me. And finally, contact a lawyer about that previous incident and carry a sheet of paper telling anybody who reads it that you were accused of a felony and it was dropped down to nothing later. Might need that later. And none of this is restricting you in California because what you're talking about is something, as long as it doesn't look like a real gun, isn't restricted, and you might be better off just using a mace can if it's allowed, and you could just fire a pepper ball at them. Dead last, the paintball gun we were talking about for self-defense is not appropriate for gameplay. It is a very serious piece of equipment, and unfortunately, very sadly, most of the really hardcore paintball guns or launchers that are made for self-defense are made to look like a gun on purpose, which is dumb. So you'd have to find one that was made by some company that's trying not to make it illegal in California to even have it. Because that's dumb. Hope this has been useful. I will include a link to this video to explain it, and also everything below the video in the comments in the description will be posted under the comment with it. So you can read that and also listen to me babble on here. Again, I've never been in a situation where having a gun, any kind of firearm, would have made things better off. Even when I got my ass kicked, I was better off. I'm capable of saying that. I'm capable of understanding that. Doesn't make me feel better. Want to make it to where somebody didn't hurt me or have revenge. But the fact is that kind of stuff never really works out at all. Not from a philosophical standpoint, but from a practical one. Aiming a paintball gun at somebody means you're not running away from them. Running away from people is much more effective. Unless someone's firing a rocket launcher at you, you're better off running and zigzagging between cars and getting the fuck away from them. And if you're old enough that you can't run away, you may have to learn to use other self-defense methods. And my favorite one is getting out of a neighborhood that's dangerous, because that's the only one that ever really worked well. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with it.